Hello and welcome to the BMC Quick Course series. In this quick course, I will show you how to use Change Manager for DB2 to create a migration profile. Migrate profiles are designed for you to be able to specify the scope and change rules once and use them multiple times. When you define a profile, you do not need to define this information in a migration work ID. By defining the scope and change rules once, you can save time and ensure consistency. Migrate profiles can be used during compare, import, and analysis. There are two types of migrate profiles, inbound and outbound. Inbound migrate profiles are only used for import and they contain change rules. For everything migrate and compare process, use outbound profiles. Migration profiles contain scope rules, change rules, and locations. Scope rules indicate which object types to include in the migration. You can include data, table spaces, indexes, and the other objects shown here. Change rules allow you to change attributes for objects automatically. For instance, you may want to change the owner of a table or view when moving from test to production. Locations allow you to create multiple outputs with one analysis or one compare. The locations option are available only for outbound migrate profiles. Let's see how to create migrate profiles. From the main Change Manager menu, select option 5 to create migrate profile. Press enter. Provide a name for your migrate profile. Just like a DB2 table, there are two parts to the name, the owner and the actual name. Next, select option 2 to create and press enter. Select type 2 for outbound, then put an S next to scope rules and change rules and press enter. When you get familiar with this panel, you'll be able to enter the information you want by using the Tab button. Until then, Change Manager will walk you through the process. Enter an E for edit under the action field and press enter. Enter the highest level object you would like to capture. In this case, we selected to start at the database. Confirm that the option field is set to 1 to include dependencies. On the right, you see all the options for which object types to include in this migrate profile. Place a Y next to the objects you want to include in the migration. Under object name and next to part 1, enter the database name. If you chose to start at the table space or table level, you may need to use part 1 and part 2 because most objects require a two-part name to make them unique. Database name is unique within a subsystem, so we only need to fill in part 1. Press enter, then PF3. You have completed the scope rules portion, and you can see that Change Manager has filled in you specified on the previous panel. If you need to include more scope rules, simply insert another line and follow the process we just used. Press F3. Because we selected the change rules options, we see this panel. If you are familiar with this panel, you can simply enter the appropriate information. If not, Change Manager guides you through the process when you enter E in the action column and press enter. In our example, we want to use this migrate profile to migrate or clone a database. We want to change the database name as well as the owner of the dependent objects. For options, enter 1 for change. Next to objects, enter 2 for database. Again, if you know the attribute name, you can enter it next to attribute. However, we will let Change Manager walk us through it. Enter an S next to the display attribute list. you will notice option 30 is for name. That is what we would like to change. So you will need to enter 30 for name. You will also notice that only the attributes that are valid for database will be selectable. When you press enter, you will notice that the attribute name gets filled in for you. Press PF3. Notice the attribute name has been filled in for you from the previous panel. Next, enter what the current value is and what you want to change it to. In our example, the current value is SPADEMO, and we want to change that to SPAPROD. Remember, these are just change rules. In other words, we are telling Change Manager when it does the analysis and it finds a database with the name SPADEMO to change it to SPAPROD in our work list. Press PF3. When you press F3, Change Manager will fill in that blank like we saw earlier. Now, this isn't the only change we need to make. We also need to change the owners of tables, indexes, and views. Rather than go through the edit process, I will choose to repeat or like the current line and make the necessary changes. Enter an L under Action and press Enter. You can now overtype the information you want. In our example, I overwrote the object to TB for table and attribute to owner, but kept the values for these attributes. Those attributes could be different in your case. I also need to do the same for indexes and views, so I like this line twice by entering L2 and pressing Enter. I repeated the process for index and views. I have now completed the creation of the migrate profile. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner, it states migrate profile added. Thank you for your time. For more information on any BMC Change Manager feature, please visit the Change Manager Quick Course series.